Hi, my name is Jeff Benton. I'm the curator here at Clermont State Historic Site, and today I want to talk to you about one of the most famous and influential people associated with Clermont, not named Livingston. That is Richard Montgomery. Montgomery was originally from Ireland, spent a great deal of his life in the British Army, fought in the French and Indian War, saw some of the most horrific fighting in the most horrific conditions during the war. After the war, he sold out his commission and bought a farm in Kingsbridge, just outside of New York City. In 1773, he rented the farm to a tenant and moved up north to Rhinebeck so that he could marry Janet Livingston, the daughter of Judge Robert and Margaret Beekman Livingston. In fact, they were married in the drawing room at Clermont. Not this Clermont, of course, the one that the British burned in 1777. After their marriage, Janet and Richard settled into a nice cottage in Rhinebeck while they had their mansion Grassmere built. Richard really was settling into this country, gentle, civil life. He actually wrote to a former comrade that he had begun to think he shouldn't die by the pistol. And then came the revolution. Richard was named to the New York Assembly, along with his brother-in-law, Robert Livingston. Robert was sent to Philadelphia as a member of the Second Continental Congress. Richard remained in New York City as a member of the Assembly. When the Second Continental Congress decided to adopt the Army and create an army, Richard was named Brigadier General. In fact, his commission was brought to him from Philadelphia by George Washington. He was made second in command of the invasion of Canada, second to Philip Schuyler. When Schuyler came down with a rather convenient case of gout, the invasion fell on Richard's head. Initially, in the later months of 1775, he was successful. He took the city of St. John, he took the city of Montreal, but he kind of crashed hard against the walls of Quebec City. At the end of the year, with most of his army's enlistments due to expire in the new year, Montgomery tried one last attack on Quebec in a howling snowstorm. He personally led a column of troops into the lower town of Quebec. As they approached the first barricade, they were shocked to find that it wasn't manned. Montgomery and several of his officers slipped through the barricade, while soldiers set about taking it down so the column could march into the city. While they were milling about, figuring what their next move would be, somebody noticed movement in a blockhouse further down the street. Montgomery and his officers immediately charged the blockhouse, realizing that it was tactically had a tactical advantage over their position. They hoped to take it before it could cause any real harm to the troops that they had with them. A cannon from inside the blockhouse fired. It was loaded with grape shot, which basically turned it into a giant shotgun, and in the confines of that narrow street did horrendous damage. Montgomery was hit 3 times once in the leg, once in the groin, and once in the head. His attack fell apart. His men were now leaderless, and they retreated. His body was found the next day by British soldiers, and a few days later they gave him a full military funeral in Quebec. Quebec City never fell to the Americans, and Canada never fell to the Americans because of that. Richard became a martyr to the cause. His wife, Janet, became an honored widow. She was always welcome in the American camps. Congress voted to build a monument to Richard. It was the first American monument, although it languished in France and then in South Carolina during the war. In 1818, the government of the United States arranged with the government of Britain, which still controlled Canada at the time, to have Montgomery's remains repatriated. He was brought down the Champlain Valley, brought down the Hudson River in a steamboat, and they had arranged for the Livingston family to all gather at Montgomery Place, which was the mansion that Janet had built in honor of Richard. She asked to be alone when the ship stopped in front of her house. A band on board the ship played a song, and then it moved on. When she didn't reappear, the family went to find her and found that she had passed out from grief. Richard was eventually buried in St. Paul's Chapel in New York City, right next to the monument that was made for him. Janet was buried there a few years later when she passed away. So that's the story of Richard Montgomery. If you have any questions, please add them to the comments below. As always, thank you for watching.